Hey guys, thanks for watching 205 Outdoors. I'm Freddie Dillard. Hey, real quick before we get started with the video, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so, and go ahead and feel free to like and share these videos. Man, I really do appreciate it. It helps that helps the channel grow, and I just appreciate all you guys' support with that. Was back out on our property today looking at these bucks, these bachelor groups that we've looked at for several weeks now, started back in May. Really kind of charting their growth, doing just kind of a herd survey each week, just looking at them, and I just think it's pretty cool to see how they go from one week to the next and how much they've progressed since May when we first saw them. I'm going to include a picture of at least one of these bucks from May and one from today when I was out there. It's pretty cool to look at and think about. But we'll go ahead and get started with the video now. First thing up is so this is one of the 4-year-olds, or I'm calling him a 4-year-old buck on our property. And we've seen him several times. Man, it's just a really nice deer. It was a little bit foggy today, so I do apologize for that. I tried to get the drone in better position, and you got it lowered down to where we could see better. But if you look at this buck, you can always tell his antlers kind of come in like that. There's a 3-year-old that their antlers are a little bit closer. We'll see him on here as well. Here's just a thermal image of them, which is just pretty cool to look at. And there's 5 of them there, but one of them I think is a doe or a buttonhead. So you look at these deer just kind of side by side, just out here feeding in the clear cut. And they'll do that right up till season, so it's kind of cool to watch though. And even really after season, they don't move as far as I would have thought. I'd always been taught that deer have a pretty long range, and these deer seem to stay pretty close most of the season. So we'll look back at these bucks now. This is the 4 that we've seen pretty much every week. I've got a couple of other sets of bachelor groups that we've looked at, but these are the primary ones. I think this is that the way he's got his head. I think this is that wide one. He's the 5.5-year-old. Yeah, really nice buck right there. And I've noticed that these deer are always kind of pawing and itching at their antlers. Sorry about the movement right there with the drone. I've noticed they always kind of seem to paw at the antlers, and I don't know if they get ticks on them or if it's some kind of bug or if it's just real sensitive, but I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but man, they're just always kind of pawing at them. Anyway, not sure what's up with that. Do you see him just kind of running? I guess he's just scratching his head like anybody else. It's funny to watch though. But yeah, you can see these deer just feeding, and this is a mature buck, man. And and this is free range. I mean, this is a hunting club. These deer throughout the season are under immense amount of pressure. But out here with the drone, you can see that it doesn't really bother them at all. Occasionally, the drone, if it rapidly accelerates or decelerates, it'll make a little bit of noise, and it'll startle them, but they rarely ever react to it more than that. Just kind of stop for a second and look around. And here's a good example. You see a kind of that smaller deer. I think he's a 2 or 3-year-old, next to what I've termed as Big Daddy right there. And it's an obvious difference in size of these two deer. And they're basically fighting over whatever these leaves are. It's kind of funny to watch. They feed for just another second or two, and then you'll see them start walking here in a second. But you can see the really stark difference right here in these 2 bucks. I mean, you got this one on the right that he's just body-wise, rack-wise, he's got a lot more mass, and he's a giant compared to this, what I'm calling probably a 2 or 3-year-old buck. And you see his little antlers just kind of come together. They're he's a young buck. He'll be a good one another year or two. He'll be a hoss too if he survives. Hopefully he does. He should definitely survive this season on our property. We'll watch that for just a second. That big boy looked like he heard something. Now they're starting to walk around a little bit more. In just a second, it's going to kind of zoom out, and you'll see some of these other deer. So right here next to him, this is a 5 and a 4-year-old. That's not the small deer that we were just looking at. So that's the 5 and the 4. So you kind of You see that 4-year-old, his antlers do kind of come in like the 3-year-old, but he's wider. He's got more mass about him, and his body size is comparable to that 5-year-old buck. I mean, it's hard to, body-wise, it's hard to tell them apart. Now, you see that 3-year-old right up next to him, and it's a pretty big difference. And watching these deer feed on this property, it's really hard to use like terrain features. I've had people ask me about that. You absolutely can chart that kind of stuff, but this particular piece of property is fairly flat. It does have some small hills to it, and they do funnel through it, but overall, they just kind of, you know, they've got their trail systems that they follow to and from bedding, and they're pretty strict on it. They stay with it. Again, this deer, you can just see he's not going to be a shooter. He's going to be a nice deer, but he won't be a shooter on our property. Like I said, 3-year-old probably. This one's also just another young one, and he may be 3 or 4, but he definitely body wise, it's just not the same size as the 2 big ones. So I would say out of this bachelor group, you got 2 shooters, solid. Maybe a 3rd one. That one's kind of iffy. We'll see how he turns out in another month and a half. But these the 2 up on top of the screen are really nice bucks. Sorry about the drone. So when you're flying this drone and you try to make just small movements, I'm zoomed in a good bit, and so you guys that use drones, once you're zoomed in, if you just micro movements, really cause that drone to kind of react more than you want it to. So occasionally I catch myself doing that, and I didn't edit it out. Just kind of looking at these deer from the top right now so you can see them real good. Again, just a little bit on the smaller size. I don't know what's going on right here, guys. It's not the rut, and that's not a doe, but hey, I don't know. The little man was a little fired up out here. He must have got into some Viagra weed or something. I don't know what happened out there. But anyway, he finally calmed it down before he got his little butt kicked by a big boy. But looking at those 2 deer side by side, I mean, you can see that one's just really young. He's a lot smaller. All right, guys. Anyway, thanks for watching 205 Outdoors. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and also 205 Aerial on Facebook. So 205 Aerial is the new company. It's drone deer recovery, and also doing these herd surveys. So the things that I'm doing at this property, I'm happy to come out and, look at your property as well. It has to be private property, either hunting club lease or, just private property. You can't do it on public land. But happy to come out and do that. Anyway, thanks for watching 205 Outdoors, and don't forget to like and subscribe.